Your B2B Marketing Pint is the podcast for B2B technology marketers who want to sharpen their competitive edge. Joined by other marketing veterans, your hosts Brian O'Grady and Brendan Ziolo share expertise on what works today and why. Grab a cold pint of hot takes on branding, content marketing, demand generation, and more, served with a side of sarcasm.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of the B2B Marketing Pint. I'm super excited today to be joined by Cathy Summers, who is a PR veteran from Silicon Valley. She's been working with both large and small companies for a number of years, getting them great coverage in top-tier media, industry publications, and really working with them on their messaging and overall approach to PR and communications. She was with an agency called Shift Communications, but she now runs her own boutique PR agency and works with a number of clients in the Bay Area and otherwise. So super happy to have Cathy with us today. And to get us rolling, Cathy, what are you drinking?
Today, I am drinking Cascade Lake's Salted Caramel Porter. So highly recommend if you're ever in Bend, Oregon.
All right. Well, sounds like a challenge, Brian. Should we book our flights or?
But I can't think of a better reason.
And I do remember I've worked with Cathy for a number of years, and I do remember her being very particular about the beer. So I'm not surprised. It's a very local, craft-oriented one. I'm drinking. I think I might be repeating beer. Is that wrong? I'm drinking an Athletic Brewing Company IPA, once again, non-alcohol variety. This was one of the first I had that was very, very good. So continue to enjoy that. And Brian, what are you drinking?
Well, thanks for asking. I think I'm going to go to the opposite end of the spectrum from your fancy craft flavored, unique, fancy beers. And I'm going to, you're going to fall off your chair when I introduce you to this one. This one's called Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Oh.
Now you might think to yourself, Brian, what has happened? How did this happen to you? And
yes,
there are
why
reasons.
Are you in the PBR?
Yes, it's a PBR. There are a couple of good reasons this has happened to me. First of all, believe it or not, it's made down the road from me in Guelph by Sleeman's here in Canada. They actually make it, so my neighbors make it, which is hilarious. But most importantly, it features in a David Lynch film, Blue Velvet. And because of that, we occasionally have a throwback, and there's certain recipes around here that require Pabst Blue Ribbon. So I thought today was the day to shake it up and go retro and go to the opposite end from the microbreweries to PBR. And with that,
well, anyone that
shall we?
We shall.
Cathy, I can't think of anything that's much more opposite to your beverage than a PBR.
Yeah.
No, we got to wait. Brian's still pouring.
Brian.
He's
sorry. Going for the glass. No,
he's still pouring. Cheers.
No, I'm a can. Drink it from a can.
Cheers. All right.
And I think we've really opened the potential breweries to sponsor this today, Brian. So kudos on that, and Cathy, we've got it all covered.
This could be a whole new demographic with PBRs on the show. Let's find out. You guys want to talk about some PR and some marketing now?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. Full disclosure, full transparency, Cathy. Once upon a time, I was a PR guy myself. I don't claim to still be one or even really know the score or the industry there anymore, but I am eager to pick your brain on the topic to see what's changed.
Okay.
So off the top, that's where I want to go first. Is I don't think PR is the same anymore as when I was a PR guy back in the day. How has being a PR practitioner changed in the last few years? And in particular, what is AI doing to your daily life as a PR practitioner?
Oh, okay. Let's start with what's changed. So I think that some really big shifts have happened. The media landscape is smaller. Newsrooms are smaller. Reporters are stretched very thin. And that is especially apparent in the trade publications where before you might have had a reporter covering storage and somebody else covering data and somebody else covering security. And now there's might be one reporter that has to cover all of that. So they are stretched more thin. Used to be that they would do maybe a couple of stories a week. And now I'm seeing more and more where it's a couple of stories a day that they're responsible for putting out. So higher volume, rush to be first. And because of the smaller newsrooms and fewer opportunities, we're seeing a lot of journalists start to basically try to make a name for themselves via Substacks, newsletters, different types of media outlets, podcasts. So it's becoming more fractured as well. Like there's not just the traditional print or online websites that you go to, and there's only so many of them. Like it's just a much more fractured landscape, and everybody's doing a lot every day. And they all have the analytics now to see how stories are performing. Whereas before, you never knew who was reading or if they were engaged. Now, with Google Analytics, you can see what stories people click on, how much time they're spending there. And so if, you're going to see more, those salacious, if it bleeds, it leads type of headlines to try to get you to click through. So often you're going to see some of the big names, right? They want to have Apple or Google or Salesforce in their headlines so that you get more interest, right? So the smaller guys are not going to be big click drivers. So you have to find ways around these to make the reporters want to write about you, right? What else has changed? AI has definitely changed a lot of things for us. On the content side, clients really want to lean into AI content, and publications really, really do not want AI content. So I find that a lot of my day is trying to suss out whether I've been given AI content and then trying to make that human content to get it to reporters. So it's a lot of trying to educate clients on where and when we can use AI and trying to reduce. I think the term that has popped up in the last week, I think it was the Harvard Business Review, they call it work slop, which is what I sometimes get, some work slop, and trying to make that human and less slop.
So you're almost playing the role of like the high school teachers or the university profs who have to run everything through an AI checker now to see if somebody's just giving you AI generated noise instead of an actual story.
I'm just trying to make it, like I understand that they're putting it into they're putting a prompt in that has some of their ideas. And I'm like, I would rather it sound much more authentically you than so polished through AI. So let's talk about how to make this really sound more like you would say it, not the way that, AI would say it.
Fair enough.
So as you mapped out the media landscape there, Cathy, and I've seen it myself too, it's getting earned media is challenging now. It always has been at some level, but it seems more challenging now. Yet most organizations I talk to or work with, they tend to go more the paid media route. That's kind of their go-to more than earned media. Why do you think earned media is still important? Like, why still do it if I can just throw buckets of money at Google, LinkedIn, Meta, or whomever and get the ads out?
All right, let's talk about that, because you're right that organizations are going to default to paid because it feels like a really fast way to get some results. But earned media is still really important. And I think that one of the biggest reasons is credibility, right? Everyone knows when they see an ad that it's bought and paid for, and they're telling you what, the company wants you to hear. But when a journalist, an analyst, an influencer, when they're writing about you, it carries that third-party validation that there's no paid version that can match it, right? It just, that somebody else is giving it some type of implicit validation just by writing about it. And they're more likely to not be over the top and really be more measured in what they're saying about your company. I think another reason is the longevity of a story. So paid media, once your budget is out, paid is done and those ads go away. But an article, a podcast, an analyst mention in a report can live online for years, for an extended period of time. It keeps getting shared, discovered. And now, and I should have mentioned that this is another way that AI is really changing the game for PR, is that with generative AI, you're seeing that these AI tools, these chat GPT and the like, are drawing on credible published sources to generate their answers. So they're looking, when somebody types in a question, they're looking to that earned media for putting together their response. So it's a different, it's AI SEO, right? So that quality earned coverage is going to not only reach the people who read that article in the moment, but it's going to live online. It's going to be discoverable. AI is going to generate responses around it. So I think that's still a really important outlet. And I don't know that companies understand how AI is finding their answers. And I don't think that they're understanding that B2B buyers are looking there, right? They're Googling stuff, they're doing research, and those AI overviews or those AI tools are going to help them like navigate that process, and earned media can be very impactful there.
Yeah, totally. I love the credibility part there, and it definitely even helps your work slop starting point from the previous question stand out. But yeah, I read an article similar to what you were saying as well around the AI engines really looking at these third party credible sites to help fuel their answers. So obviously getting mentions there, getting coverage there will go a long way.
I couldn't agree more. We see that in what we do all the time. If you want to, the Google fight now involves AI thoroughly and every day, not a little bit and occasionally. And the gap we're seeing in our industries between industries that are AI savvy and those that aren't is quite remarkable. But that's a whole other podcast. We're going to keep this one on PR. And I might be revealing a little bit of my age or my dated approach to PR at this stage with this next question, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway.
Okay.
And I'm going to weave in a really self-serving plug at the same time. So now you've been warned, full transparency. So back in the day, and for many, many decades before even I did it, the media release may or may not, you'll tell us, have been the pinnacle of PR practice. The media release. I considered it when I was doing it was kind of the bread and butter of a PR pro. So if we had an announcement, like, for example, let's say your agency had been shortlisted for a number of global search awards for a couple of client projects with folks like Tourism Kingston or Rewind Software. That's just hypothetical, Cathy. That's just hypothetical. Let's say you wanted to share that news.
I need to find the censor button. I need to find that. Where can we censor this?
So let's say
plug label.
We need the sound effects.
Just kidding.
I feel like it should be flashing at the bottom of the screen, right? Shameless plug.
Yeah, working it into the feed right now, Cathy.
They used to have a blinking text HTML code back in the day, which was truly obnoxious. It was probably the most obnoxious thing. So okay, so back to the matter at hand. Plug done. Let's say you had an announcement like that. Does the media release still matter? Is it the be all and the end all of PR? And if not, what is?
So I feel like I spend more of my time telling some clients that's not a press release. That's not a press release. That is not worth a press release.
You're just going to say it's not newsworthy.
It's not. So I love a press release. I love to write press releases. I got into this career not because I hated them, but they are one tool. And I think too many companies think, it's a hammer and all they have is that hammer. Everything in the company is a nail. And it's like, no. And we have to look at other things. So there are times where maybe a blog is a better way to get that out, right? Particularly when you're talking about putting a press release over the wire, and wire services can be very expensive. Some clients spend like $2,000 on every press release that goes over the wire. And it's like, this isn't worth that. Either the audience for this is so small, or the people would care about this, or no journalist is going to cover that. Like, this isn't a big enough story. But you want to get it out there. There's ways to do that. It's great to put that on social. It's great to put that on a blog. It may not be a press release, but I will never say the press release is dead. Nobody should ever do it. Like, that's not true. But I just think it has to be something that is that somebody who doesn't work at your company will care about.
I'm shocked. Yeah. No, that's completely fair. And I think at the risk of oversimplifying your argument, if it's not actually newsworthy, it probably doesn't deserve a press release.
Yes. Now,
fair enough. I can't
there
deny
are times I've run into a CEO, the CEO just wants it. He just wants it, and it's going to make him feel good. And if he's willing to write that check, then it's no harm, no foul. Like, I'll just do it. Make the CEO happy. Sometimes that's part of this job, is making the CEO happy. You give your best advice of like, hey, I think this would be better as a blog and some posts on LinkedIn, and get people in your company to share this and get traction that way. And if they're like, nope, the CEO really wants to put this out, he's really pumped about it, he told his mom, like, we've just got to get this, then just do it.
Fair enough.
No matter what, don't upset the CEO's mom. That's the other takeaway.
If she's expecting that this is going to be out there papering the internet, then great, we'll do that.
So maybe another hypothetical. Man, I think we're throwing a lot of these at you today, Cathy. Sorry about that. But I remember this. I mean, I worked at a startup when we worked together, and hopefully we didn't ask you this, but we probably did, knowing us. So smaller, unknown startup, early stage, not high profile, basically comes to you and says, I need to be in the Wall Street Journal or New York Times, or pick other top tier publication named here. I mean, what do you say to them when they come with that expectation?
Well, it's funny. Often when I hear that, they claim they have a really great story, right? And a really great story is absolutely critical, but a really great story for who? And I think that is often overlooked. Like, it can feel like a really great story from the founder's perspective, right? Let's go back to the CEO that's pumped about being on a short list of an award, and he wants to get that out there, right?
Like me.
Okay. That is a great story that's right. The CEO has accomplished something, and this is important. However, does that resonate with the publication? It was really a team effort, audience? Team effort. But sometimes it can be a really great story is, we closed X customer. Oh, and we can't name them.
That's tough.
Yeah. So, I understand that you went through all these, like, they want to talk about the sales, we did this and we beat this guy out. Now, will the customer say, no, they won't say any of that, but we've got this great story we can tell. One, that is going to be extremely difficult to just like trust you that that's what happened and how it went. And those top tier outlets they're looking for stories that resonate with their audience. And the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, they're looking for stories that have really broad implications, right? They affect a large swath of their readership, which are just, people from all walks of life. And it needs to fit into trends that their readers care about. So what are the hot topics of the day? Like, does this fit into that? Like, whatever the trending topic. It's not just being new. It's not just being exciting. You have to have relevance, and it has to have some kind of impact. One person that I was chatting with, who's also in the PR industry, said, people reading they had a interview with a Wall Street Journal reporter. And during the interview, the Wall Street Journal reporter said, people reading the journal right now only care about how to get their kids off the couch, how to make themselves and their families money. If the story can't do that, Wall Street Journal doesn't have an angle. So, your new gee whiz technology, if it's not getting the kids off the couch, if it's not going to help them make money, like, I don't know how much the journal is going to care, according to this one reporter, right? It's one guy's opinion. But
sounds like a paper route could solve both problems if people still delivered papers.
There you go. If only people read the paper anymore. But, I think that needing that broader impact, needing that relevance, that is what is really important. So when we're talking about those outlets, like, we dig into that story and we talk about the types of stories that the Wall Street Journal will cover. And, it's going to be things like, hey, do we have a strong founder profile? Somebody who's maybe a serial entrepreneur, had some big exit, somebody who used to be at one of the big tech companies that has now left and is starting their own company. Like, is there a profile here we can dig into? Did you have a bigger than average round of funding, right? Not just kind of what the norm is for that round, but, an outsized round? Or did you manage to attract some marquee investors? Like, is there something about the story that is going to make it more broadly interesting? And if we're going to talk about market traction, which is a great, credibility point to get in with a journalist, like, can we talk about customer growth? Do you have any early validation metrics? Are there some new product or partnerships that we can talk about? Like, you just need to have a lot of elements, and you also then have to find the right person at the publication. And oftentimes, if you talk to some of these reporters that cover a certain beat, like they're the cybersecurity reporter at the New York Times, they are reading the trades for who's making noise in the trades. If you are not in the trades at all and you don't bubble up onto their radar, they're going to think, like, who is this company? Like, why should I pay attention? So those reporters that have a beat absolutely know what's happening in their little industry that they're covering. And the majority of that information is coming from the trades. So we'll talk about building that. Like, you've got to start somewhere. You got to start in those trades. You've got to work your way up, and then get the attention of the right person at the right publication at the right time.
Yeah. So the trades are the minors working your way up to the majors.
If you can't break in there, then you're not going to break in bigger. It's rare that happens. And there's always some caveat to that, right? Like I said, it'll go back to a strong founder story. It'll be something that makes you stand out and very different from the pack if you suddenly come out in a big splash in the New York Times.
And I think the trades are also important, I've always thought, because quite often the audience that you really need to reach is reading those, right?
That's where your buyers
Wall Street
are.
Journal, not the New York Times. I mean, they might read those too, but when they're in that, I need help solving problem X, or I'm looking for solution Y, they're looking to the trades. They're not looking to the Wall Street Journal to recommend, the next security solution or cloud provider or whatever. So, yeah, I definitely, I think the trades is a great starting point, and that's good advice, Cathy, for our listeners.
One of, I think, the themes that's emerging here, which has not changed, is that a PR pro's job might include as much killing of bad stories that don't matter, as it does promoting actual stories. And so I've got an example that I want to know if this still occurs in the industry to you or not, because I've been part of, when I was a PR guy, I was a part of a big organization, a very large multinational. And people at that multinational learned that one of the quickest ways to tell your boss's boss's boss that you'd done something cool was to actually try and get news coverage of it instead of, say, wandering down the office or picking up the phone or sending that person an email. It was to go to the PR person's office and try and get them to make news about it so that your boss's boss's boss heard about it that way. Does that still happen in big organizations? And if it does, how do you stop it?
So it just happened yesterday, and it doesn't have to even be a big organization. It can be a medium. I feel like there are some organizations where something good happened, and the best thing is, let's go put out a press release. Like, that is just the default response. And so, without naming names, yesterday I had a client say, hey, our Japan office wants to put out this press release for this big conference that's happening in the middle of October. And we are a partner with that company that's having that big conference in the middle of October. And we are going to be leading a session there. We have a session at this show. From the Japan office, the session will be in Japanese for Japanese people. And so we want to put out a press release in English telling it. I digress here.
That one didn't survive.
But there were so many no. All of this is a no. So we had to explain, like, one, there's a deadline for getting press releases for this conference, which has passed by almost 2 weeks. And two, there are many sessions that we are participating in. This is just one. And while it's very cool that it will be in Japanese, that does not bubble up to a whole press release. So yes, it still happens. And you have to learn in this job how to say no and talk about other things they can do, right? You can't just be no, period. Like, as much as I would love to just be the Department of No and just say no, period, and move on.
And legal might sue you for taking their jobs. If you took the Department of No away from legal, they might come after you.
Yes. So you have to be no, but we can, it's like media training. You have to segue into what you can do and what other things might help get that word out. Like, you might send a message to all of your Japanese prospects and, folks who speak Japanese and tell them about this event.
So you want to talk to the people that might actually care.
Attend.
Weird.
Yes. Go directly to them. That's just one example. That was yesterday's example.
Okay, maybe things haven't changed as much as I thought.
No.
So other than potentially giving legal a run for their money on the Department of No, I think the other common theme so far, Cathy, has really been around, it really comes down to having a good story. I mean, that's the other part of what we've talked a lot about today, and I'm sure some of our audience already knows that. But can you give us some of your, tips, some of your, from your experiences, what makes a good story? And then, how do you get the media or analysts to care about that? Or when you have a good story, they automatically care? Like, right, as we kind of wrap this up, what are some tips we can leave our audience with around story?
Okay, let's talk about a good story. I think that the most important thing about a good story that the media really latches onto is that it's timely and relevant. So I have a client that really kind of plays into the tariff conversation and what companies can do about it, or how they're managing the unpredictability and volatility around tariffs. One day it's this and then it's that. And that is a big talking point for them for their solution. And so being able to talk about how tariffs will impact this business or this industry, what is it going to mean for back to school shopping? What is it going to mean for holiday shopping? What is it going to mean, for different industries at different times? We've been able to capitalize on that, not because the client is such a big company with a big name and has, all these resources. It's more that we're very timely, we have the right insights, and we can deliver on that. So I really will never discount how important it is to be timely and relevant, right? I think that the other thing that matters is data and insights. If you have original research, metrics, analysis that can give stories some credibility, that has worked well. So for another client, they did a survey back in the spring, and we took that survey and looked at all of the data in there, and we parsed it into 3 different reports. Each report was announced, like we had one in June, one in July, and one in September, which was kind of a bigger wrap up of a lot of the themes of the entire report, which they wanted to time that final report with a big event they were going to be at. And they had a speaking slot at that event to talk about the report, to talk about what was in there. So kind of the first 2 reports were like teasers, like just a few data points that we pulled out, and we made them into like mini, like 2-page kind of reports leading up to the bigger, meatier one in September. So we took that data and we were able to create a news cycle from June through September with articles that came out. We had videos of the founder talking about it. We had bylined articles. We used the Forbes Tech Council for the client to publish 3 different articles around the data. I mean, it was just like a constant stream of data coming from this very small client who's in the services industry, but able to get outsized coverage for their brand and really bubble that up at the event, where the event was kind of promoting some of that data in their blog, talking about what to come see at the event. So it was just a lot for that company that was just based off a survey that they did back in the beginning of the year. And it fed fed the PR team for 6 months.
Yeah, what a great example. I'm such a big fan of, I think what you just described was an integrated plan, or actually having a plan, as opposed to a random act of PR. And in our business, we call them random acts of marketing. That's got to work much better than a one and done.
Yes. And the random act on their end was really, hey, let's do this survey and see what we find out and what we can do with it. And then it became like, okay, let's build we're going to do social, we're going to do a speaking session, we're going to do reports, we're going to, it was a whole campaign, very integrated across a lot of different channels to get that story out.
Brilliant.
And I can definitely vouch for what Cathy said there, because I know when we worked together, she pushed us to do, it wasn't a survey, but we did a malware report back in the day, and we got some great coverage from that and got named with some of the heavyweights on the security research front. And we were just a little startup at the time, but yeah, we managed to package up data on some trends, on some things we were seeing. And yeah, she was her and her team were able to leverage it numerous ways for us. So totally agree. And that's my shameless plug for Cathy, not for me. Maybe I'm not doing this right.
I can get the blinking text ready again.
I think that those things are really important, and it won't matter. Like, yes, we have relationships with certain reporters, and I don't want to say relationships don't matter at all. I think that relationships with reporters get them to open your email. They get them to take your call. That's it. They'll just hear you out. But if your story's garbage, like, they're not going to take it. So having a reporter relationship is, a great start.
Table stakes.
But I can get a reporter I've never worked with before to cover a story if it's a good story. It's not going to matter.
Great example.
That will make the relationship, right? I'll bring them the good story.
So clearly, and this happens to us occasionally, Brendan, when we get excellent guests, we could have an excellent conversation go on all afternoon. But for the sake of whichever one of our listeners is commuting right now and has to head into the office and is riveted sitting in his or her Volvo, but doesn't want to press pause to walk into the office, we're gonna bring in our final B2B marketing pint question, which is now I'm going to declare it a tradition.
I agree.
Like are you ready,
Okay.
Cathy?
Oh gosh, yes.
Here we go. So we talked a lot about what's changed, the pros, the cons, the good, the bad, maybe the ugly. Here's our closing question. What is the biggest myth about PR that drives you mental, that makes you nuts? And if you could slay it today, what would it be?
Any press is good press. Let's ask the astronomer CEO, ask astronomers a company after their CEO and head of HR ended up on the kiss cam if any press is good press. Ask Target after they publicly backed off of their DEI initiatives and have subsequently lost $20 billion in shareholder value if any press is good press. That myth has got to die. It's not true. In reality, coverage that misrepresents your story, reaches the wrong audience, or brings negative attention to your business can actually hurt more than it helps. And you need to be targeted and thoughtful about your coverage, not just, anything is good.
Anything goes.
No.
Okay, that's really good because that might have triggered an argument with either one of us, I think, Brendan, until you brought out those amazingly good examples.
Yeah. Do you want to work in astronomer PR the day after that? No, I did not.
It's a busy place.
Well, I'm not surprised that Cathy set us straight, Brian, before we got to even start to argue with her. I do really appreciate you joining us today, Cathy. As Brian said, we could probably keep talking for a while, but we do need to wrap this one up.
Okay.
I miss these conversations. I'm not going to lie. I miss our dinners and beer in San Francisco more.
Oh, good old days.
But it was great having you on, and I really appreciate you taking the time today and updating us on our PR knowledge, dispelling the myths, and teaching us a number of things. So really appreciate it, Cathy, and thanks for joining us. And cheers, everyone, if
Thanks
we
for having
have our
me.
beer left.
Thanks, Cathy.
Thank you.
Hey, folks, if you liked that episode, you won't believe the next one.
So don't forget to subscribe on your favorite platform and you won't miss out.
Or if you've got an idea we haven't thought of yet, hit us up in the comments. We'll cover that too.